7 or 8 items to deal with, 4 of which I want to deal with as a group. I'm hopeful that we will get towards the end of the budget meeting by 2:30. It would be nice to be able to depart this place 3-ish,
Really?
3:30 at the latest. All right, so that's what I'm working towards. Again, I'm in your hands. I want to start with Councillor. Now we've got, so I'll give you an idea of what we've got here. We've got Councillor Georgie wants to talk on a budget reduction at Waterfront. Councillor Crum, who's going to ask for assistance in Manukau Harbour. The IMSB, who had some proposals. The Faux Walkway. Helicopter Trust from Councillor Mike Lee. Glenfern Sanctuary, Mike Lee also. Meadowbank Community Centre that seems to have been as eagerly awaiting as the second coming.
That's right.
Arewa Seawall.
Almost as good.
And then there are 4 miscellaneous requests which you all know about, and I will probably deal with those as a group. Okay, so Councillor Denise, have you finished your coaching?
Friends of the Manukau Harbour.
Friends.
Yep, good
Councillor
friends.
Denise, have we got a recommendation from you?
You do have a recommendation from
They're
me,
coming
so
up.
this is obviously
Perhaps we just wait
reworked.
for it to come. Yes,
There it is.
Dr. Rogers here.
So Councillor Filipaina is still my second.
Yes, and Dr.
Got my back the whole way.
We seem to be the width of the Manukau apart yesterday afternoon. How are we going?
Oh, we're close together, absolutely.
Yeah, I just love this
It's
energy.
only
in this
3K at the closest point.
place. Okay,
So this
Denise,
should-
do you want to lead off?
Yeah, absolutely, and this should pass really quite quickly.
Oh,
Thanks,
good.
Mr. Mayor. So we've reworked the wording here, and essentially, you might want to come up
Go
the
down.
screen so we can see the quantum. This, in this first instance, seeks to, actually I should start off by saying this is no budgetary implications right now.
Yep.
I'll start with that wording just to allay some fears on that regard. It's intending to, with its very first opening line, staff be directed to undertake the following with the Manukau Harbour Forum, seeks to join up a much needed conversation in a very broader manner. We definitely need those 9 local boards that represent the Manukau Harbour Forum to be assured by staff that there's going to be all the issues addressed, including hydrodynamic modelling. This amendment does seek to specify out the hydrodynamic modelling work, but it also gives some scope for staff to work with the forum to absolutely ensure that that's the way to go. There's a placeholder there for 400,000. It's likely to be more, but there's a placeholder there for that particular amount, noting that if costs are around that vicinity and the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee decide so, then we can reprioritise and get that money in, and if there's additional monies required, we can work through that at the time. But I'll just recap by saying that there is no immediate budgetary implications in this, but there could be. We're putting in a placeholder. We're leaving all the options open that should staff and Manukau Harbour Forum decide that this is the way to go. We're giving them some certainty, and we're also providing a timeline. That's the part B in it. That would essentially require staff to trigger work over the next 6 to 8 months, and should this be the way to go, it'll be in the next annual plan. So would dearly love your support on this. It's a very safe amendment.
Very safe amendment.
Good.
We do have a seconder, don't we?
Filipaina,
Councillor Elf.
again.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Roger, good. And Roger, yep, I got that out.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we have talked with the staff of the Manukau Harbour Forum about Councillor Crum's amendment, and they're very happy with this wording too. So we will work together with the staff of the Manukau Harbour Forum.
Happy? Councillor Alf?
Your Worship, just a few sentences. Just want to say thank you to Denise for bringing this through, and also the work that she has done over the last few days with the forum. Your Worship, and yesterday's recommendation, it mentioned all the local boards that had it in their plans and are very supportive of this, and I just wanted to reiterate that, is that they are very, very supportive, and like Denise, I just ask that the councillors support this. Thank you.
Do you want the local boards in there again, Alf, or should we just, under the auspices of the forum?
Yep.
Yeah,
It is
no,
the forum.
yeah, the forum suite.
Yeah.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Chris D, and then perhaps...
Roger, can you go and expand on Roman 5? I'd like to know which subset of the budget is this from, and which are the projects they are going to give, as referred to in the very last part of that line?
So through the mayor, so I have been talking about that with our Chief Finance Officer Sue Tyndall. So basically set out there, it either comes from additional money, and if that's not available, then we'd have to reprioritise projects. But we have not been able at this stage to reprioritise projects, so we can't answer that explicitly.
So I need to know, we've all got an interest in what's in that program at the moment, so it's difficult to lend support if there are projects which I'd have great concern about being, having them slip down the list, so...
So perhaps I could just say, Mr Chairman, that as Councillor Crum explained it, it may not require the funding until the next year's annual plan. So that would be an opportunity to be quite explicit about what projects are being reprioritised to allow this funding.
So and if you were going to do it in this year's plan because there was a need and an urgent requirement, then you would bring it back to the appropriate committee.
Yes, that's right. So we will be reporting back to the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee under item little Roman V on this recommendation. That's right.
At which point in time, everyone would have their chance to have a say if there was a required reprioritisation.
Okay, so it's still subject to the decision-making of
Yeah.
RS&P
Absolutely.
per
Number
budget.
4.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Penny.
Yes, I want to thank Denise for coming up with this. I'm very supportive. We heard very clearly and have done over the last few years from the boards, but they very much came in this time and told us that's what they wanted to do. Remembering that we are actually putting some extra money in for local boards, maybe amongst them they might be able to come up with this money themselves if and when it's needed, but certainly I think it flags to a lot of people that we do take the Manukau Harbour seriously, and I know that there's been some real concerns that they're seen as the poor cousin, so I'm very supportive of this, and I ask my fellow councillors to do the same.
Right, last speaker, Councillor Bill.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'll draw councillors' attention to A1, it's the identify the current whole of council integrated program. We've had discussions with Watercare last year about this. They already do a lot of measuring and monitoring, and they would certainly, should be asked to be part of this program to help give it potentially a greater outcome that's more encompassing. So, yeah, good work, Denise.
Right, very good. Okay, I'm going to move it.
Sorry, is this in the environmental management section or not?
Yes.
Okay, so, oh gosh. Okay.
Right, I'll move that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against. Right, we've got John Dalziel here, so Councillor George.
Okay.
Councillor George is looking to do a little bit of pruning.
Well, okay, I'll just move my the motion as a remove from the 2015-25 long-term plan the waterfront development project West Haven Promenade with capital expenditure of $8 million in 2017-18 and $8 million in 2018-2019. And this project was discussed at the workshops we had with it was Mr. Marler from Waterfront Auckland. I've got a seconder.
You do have Councillor Quacks.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank
Oh, it's
you.
already
Well,
seconded.
actually, Councillor Quacks, were you aware that you were seconding this?
Yeah, I was. Well, no, he's quite
He's on
free,
board.
free, and he's not
Doesn't
under
need to
any
be
compulsion.
asked.
So I've been curious as to what the amount is for 16 million dollars in this project. To me, seems a huge sum of money with just being spent along the West Haven Promenade between Beaumont Street and the Harbour Bridge. Now we've already built the and put in place a cycle lane along there, and now we're talking about spending another 16 million dollars along there. Now, I'd be interested to hear what Waterfront Auckland say, but quite frankly, I think that when we're in a period of finding it difficult to find funds for projects and to do work, prettying up the waterfront along West Haven doesn't seem to me to be a project which would be essential in the scheme of things as far as essential projects. Maybe desirable, but I think that we've got to make sure that when we're spending money, they are particularly important because of the other projects the pressure's on us to come up with those savings and funds. So I just don't know how this got in there. It obviously got in there somehow, but they have spent, I think, $6 million already on the cycle path along there, which I've used it, and it's certainly to a very high standard. And I think that because of this, there doesn't seem to be a particular, I've looked at the brochures from Waterfront Auckland, but it certainly doesn't seem to be particularised to any great extent, and there's no sums of money around the projects. It's just sitting in the budget there, that big sum of money. So my view is that it should be pruned out. Other people are saying that there should be more accountability for how the money, what the money's going to be spent on, but I would like to know more, and if it can't be any justification, I'd ask councillors to remove it and use the money on other projects. I mean, you've got the issue of erosion on beachfronts around the coast of Auckland Council's areas is huge, and I don't see any erosion in this area, and people are showing us photos the other day of Orewa and the problems there, and I do think that we've got to be when we've got sparing the need to use those funds that we have. I think that this project is one that I don't think should proceed at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's seconded, so John, can you just give us, I mean, this of course hasn't appeared just out of nowhere. We've been looking at these budgets for 18 months now, and so I guess it's been there through that time. So, John, would you like to just describe why it's been there for that time and
yes, thank you, Mr.
what
Mayor.
we're trying to achieve with it?
I think fundamentally this goes back to one of our key requirements in terms of our statement of intent, and in terms of waterfront, one of our main objectives is to be actually opening up new parts of the waterfront for all Aucklanders, and so this is actually a key part of that strategy. The second point I'd like to make is that when the first amount of money, around $8 or $9 million, was approved for the stage one, we very clearly signalled to councillors that we were taking a progressive approach in terms of the walkway. We weren't building everything at once, and there would be at least 2, if not 3 stages to the works. So what you have before you has been on the table for some time. The third point I'd like to make is that that we have now opened stage one, and the public appreciation for that opening up that part of the waterfront has been significant. Yeah. Mr. Mayor, you were down there the day that we opened this, and consistently we've seen right from the early part of the consultation around the waterfront plan and then through the LTP that this initiative has been one that has actually achieved widespread public and community support. It is nevertheless important to remember that it is a staged project, and stage 2, to give councillors a flavour of the scope of works for the additional 16 odd million dollars we've been spoken of, that's spread over years 18 and 19. There are probably 12 key points. I'm only going to cover a couple. The scope involves widening approximately 300 metres of promenade from St Mary's Bay Beach to the western edge. It also, along the marina's western edge, looks at continuing some of the built form you see in stage 1. In plain English, that means building out from the concrete footpath a timber deck section, and that type of detailing, it doesn't flow all the way around the promenade at the moment, but has been the one where we've received a lot of public support. There are also ongoing safety improvements in terms of separating promenade users from vehicles and cyclists from walkers, and that's been an item of discussion previously. Also, the widening of the footpath between the marina southern edge across to parking linking to St Mary's Bay open space and beach area. Creation of a new public space on the western edge of the existing Z Pier car park. Continuing to improve the connection of the existing footpath from Harbour Bridge Park through past West Haven and through and onto the promenade. This is actually an area, Councillor Wood, where there is some climate change issues, and you refer to issues of erosion. We actually have issues of sea level rise down here. We have a seawall along that western edge which is sinking, and part of these works here is to address some of those very real issues, flooding and inundation around sitting ducks, which is at the start of this of the promenade. And finally, we do need to are looking to continue to expand our network of CCTV cameras, which are linked back into the system to help improve public safety. So, Mr Mayor, that is a summary of the reasons we believe why this is an important and essential part of striking the balance which you're looking to agree upon today. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Right, so we've got Councillor John.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to sort of pick up on some of the points that Councillor Wood made. I mean, this is obviously a desirable project and has a number of benefits, to the community long term. I guess it really comes down to striking a balance in this new financial era that we find ourselves in terms of weighing up what a priority is. I mean, and priority across Auckland as a whole, not just perhaps in the central city area. And I think there's certainly the perception there that there's huge amounts of money being invested in the city and numbers of projects and other areas are missing out, and it's I know it's a little parochial to start sort of weighing up what's happening in your ward to what's happening into the city, but nonetheless I'll do that. I mean, I see up in Orewa, for instance, the waterfront, the beach is getting washed away. It's not a matter of connections and paths and perhaps CCTV cameras. We're losing the reserve. It's getting washed away, and it serves a semi-regional function also. I mean, you go up there on weekends throughout the summer on public holidays. It's mobbed with people coming from all over Auckland. It's not the locals that are there. It's people coming from all over Auckland. So when I see this sort of expenditure, 16 million on top of what's already gone in for a worthwhile project. I'm not questioning that at all. But when I balance that up with what's happening on this, this significant beach, which has it's an overused word, but it does have iconic sort of presence for a lot of people in Auckland who have been around for a long while. Then it doesn't cut it. We're losing our beach up there. We're losing the very valuable council land and reserve land, and there's nothing in the budget for that. So It's priorities, isn't it? It's balancing it. A lot of these projects, I wasn't here on the first term, but I assume, they were set in the good old days when, money seemed to be not quite so scarce as it is now. So I think, Mr Mayor, you've referred to the reset button. And, if I'm going to take a long, hard, cold look at things, well, that reset button has to be applied to projects like this when other things that, to me, have higher priority are missing out.
Okay, Councillor Chris.
A question of Mr Dalzell. Mr Dalzell, when your CCO, Waterfront Auckland, consulted with the public, not most recently, but prior on your development plans, what single project brought them the greatest accolade of support? Was it not this project?
Through the chair, that's correct. It was
Nice
this project.
parliamentary question.
And
The answer is yes.
second question on consultation, because we're talking about reflecting the public view a lot around this table, and it's good to know the answer to that one. In the most recent consultation, and no doubt your CCO, Waterfront Auckland, has analysed the feedback. What was the feedback in opposition to this particular program?